or best or most cherished memories playing cricket?
Okay, making my first century in the Central Counties game, playing for Devonshire against Western Star, team in trouble. And I came to bat and lost another wicket. Little George Emery came in. He wasn't much bigger than the stumps those days. And I said to him, all I want you to do, George, is hurl up your hand. I'll make the runs. And when he held up his hand, I made a century down the other end. We made enough runs that we were able to declare, and then we defeated him. But George just did what he's do, block the ball, and I'll make the runs. So that was the century not out. Then I made another century not out. And then through my career of playing Central Counties, because, that started in 1968 with 7 teams was involved.
7?
National Sports Club, BA, Police, Western Stars, Yeoman Social Club, PHC, and was one other one. Names escaped me. Devonshire. There were 7 teams in Central Counties. Central Counties became one of the most strongest counties from the caliber players that played. And then as time wore on, various different clubs dropped out for a reason. And I'm sure it's a shambles today, maybe 2 or 3 teams maximum.
Interesting. You said PAC was part of
PAC was part of the
because now they're in the Western Counties.
Fellas like Bobby Simons, Yice Wilkinson, all these boys came along, Alston Jennings, all these fellas came along and played with them because Bobby put a team together and entered into the Central County. So when you had you had 6 Central County games. So as a result of that, and being involved in nationals where we had the trophy a lot, I was able to have a lot of it. So I became the first person ever in the history of Bermuda cricket in all competitions as a wicketkeeper batsman to score 1,000 runs and have over 75 dismissals. If you go through the history of the statistics today, you will not find that anywhere. So I have records that will never be broken. These boys aren't going to play 25, 26 years.
That's a phenomenal feat among many others.
Yeah. So, and I never realized that until Mr. Tommy Atchison came along. And he developed the Bermuda Cricketer magazine when he went back into the time and he researched everything back to the 30s and 40s and brought all the statistics up to date. Cup match, Western Counties, Eastern Counties, Central Counties, Camel Cup, Schaefer Cup, Premier Cup, whatever cup they decided to change to champions. So all of those competitions, he compiled all of that information and produced that magazine. It was a very interesting reading, great pictures and statistics. And that's when I realized how much runs I had. I never knew that, and how many dismissals. In the Central Counties, I had more stumpers than people. The next person got dismissals. As I played with people like Clarence Barford, Dick Trott, Code Trott, Lionel Thomas, Bergen Spencer, Anthony Emery, Paul Pierce. All these fellows here.
Sad Brown.
The great Sad Brown, Code Trott, Lionel Thomas, Joe Smith, Bergen Spencer. Donald Norfolk, tremendous fielder. Darren Lewis was there. Pacer Edwards. Colin Thompson was there with us in the Central County Devonshire, and then you had Pacer, and then you had Chug. Oh my God!
What was it like for you to be around, in such a great group of company? I mean, you all were stars.
Oh yeah, but when I came from Nationals, Devonshire, they had some wicket keepers, but when I came, I brought a different perspective and level to the game of cricket. And at that particular time, Bob Jones was here in Bermuda. He was the national cricket coach. So Devonshire, we have 4 fellas in the squad. As a result of being in the national school and all the training that we went through, but we learned a lot about one-day cricket, field placings, how to control players, how to not control, how to move away. And so we brought it back to our club and instituted all the things that he taught us at the national level and brought it into our club. And we had a formidable team. So with some youth and the experience that we had, and we had some fun times. So.
Was it a big adjustment for you going or making that transition from the concrete coconut matting to turf?
Yeah, but see, the most important thing about a turf wicket or a clay wicket is that it's a good wicket. Concrete wicket is very consistent. So therefore, if the ball is short, it's coming up. If it's pitched up. And concrete help people learn how to cut, hook, and draw. And then you go to play on a turf wicket, and if you have a badly prepared turf wicket, you cannot develop batsmen. Batsmen need to be developed on great, true wickets so they could play through the line of the ball. The worst thing for cricket is to have underprepared wickets because you cannot develop any batsmen. You cannot develop any bowlers because bowlers will come there and bowl on an ill-prepared wicket, think all this, and then they go on a wicket that looks like this tabletop, and they can't even beat the bat because they don't understand about using the return crease, coming close to the stumps, coming wide. Bowling is a game of angles, trying to angle across the bat, trying to. A lot of these young boys, they don't understand that. Coming close, coming wide, coming in the middle, moving the ball this way, and that's all part of training and working with people that know what they're talking about and understand it. I was better sometimes to build over the wicket instead of around the wicket because you're looking at LBWs, you're looking at clean bills and how if the ball's swinging, depending on the atmosphere. When you had somebody like Cotrot take the new ball on an overcast day, oh my God, it's scary for batsmen. That ball be swinging so much. Fellas be going for cover drives and leg stump coming out of the ground.
Yeah, he can certainly swing it. That was his trait.
And when we played in the World Cup in England, oh my goodness, it was even worse. He had to start that thing about 3 or 4 feet outside the off stump. And that ball would be coming back. Man, fellas were like, couldn't believe how the stumps was coming right out of the ground. He was unbelievable. Al James down on it. Then you had Lionel Thomas, Colin Blades, and Parfit bringing up. Formidable bowling attack. A formidable bowling attack, I'm telling you. That era that I played in from 1961 to 1993 was an era that I'm glad I was in because I wouldn't want to be involved in what's out there today.
Certainly was a great era. We're just gonna take a break, folks. We'll be back with more from Bermuda sports legend Barry Decouto.
This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Lindo's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else? Crimson Multimedia is a full-service video production company. We can take your next project from concept to completion. We produce small one-camera setups to complex large-scale multi-camera productions. We offer editing, visual effects, and file transfers. We also broadcast and live stream both free and pay-per-view events. Visit our website at www.crimsonmultimedia.bm for a quote or to contact us. Let Crimson Multimedia film, edit, broadcast, and stream your next event. This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Lindo's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else?
And welcome back to this special throwback edition featuring Bermuda sports legend, Mr. Barry Decouto. Mr. Decouto, in the first segment, we talked about some of the bowlers of your era,
right?
Some of which you had the pleasure and honor to keep wicket. Who was the quickest? Or the most?
Well,
you mentioned Coach Trot with his swing, his natural swing.
Coach Trot had tremendous swing, but the quickest bowler I ever felt that I kept wicket to. It was 2 of them, Al James and Adrian King. Al James on a cup match day got a yard faster. He didn't like those boys down St. George's. He said those young boys are too rude. He said, I'll deal with them today. And when we went down in 1981, and that wicket was like that asphalt out there on the road. It was so hard that the only little spots you could see on the wicket was tiny little red dots from the new ball. There was no indentations, nothing. And when he took that ball from the western end, I never forget that. And I was about 60, 70 feet back. And that ball was hitting my glove so hard, neck height, you could hear the whack. And if they had radar guns in those days, it had to be in the 90s. Because I've kept wicket to Michael Holden. I've kept wicket to George Rock. All these fellas that played in the double wicket competition over the years when I was up there. And Al James is in that era.
Double wicket, Michael Holden. Was that a big honor for you?
Yeah, I had fellas like Michael Holden. You had Asif Iqbal, George Rock. You had a guy called Carlisle Miller. Then you had the spinners I kept wicket to. Lance Gibb, Mission Betty, Indy Cabalan, Mushtaq Mahan, Lloyd Cornelius, all those fellas.
These are all test
players. I kept wicket to all those.
That's a huge honor.
As a young boy, that helped in the development of my wicket keeper, being exposed to these leg break and wrist spinners. And Lance Gibb was a tremendous off break bowler. And all of these fellas that made up the double wicket over the years, and that was a tremendous opportunity, and helped raise my game by being involved. Another fella that was crazy was Gregory Armstrong when he came into play. He came here in the 70s. He played at Southampton Rangers. He played for Barbados and he played for professional cricket for Glamorgan. His nickname was Titmus. That's because when the ball went by, fellas used to hear, he was so fast, it was scary. So him and Coach Trotman paired together in the double bickham when they had it at Sampson Rangers. So here you got these guys they're flying. And Gregory Armstrong, he played a match against Rupert Scotland, Bishop Betty. I felt sorry for Bishop Betty. I thought he was going to kill the man because that ball was flying, man. Gregory Armstrong, fast. Because, Barbados came here with Gregory Armstrong, Courtney Solomon. Trinidad came here with Bernard Julian, another guy called Soons, and Ranchi Nana, Inchin Allen, Jim Medine. And then there was Jamaica with Michael Hull and a guy called Walker. And then they had all sorts of wrist spinners. Back in the day, we had some serious battles with those teams. Mr. Chummy Hayward used to bring him in every year for fundraisers to help for the promotion of the Bermuda Youth Tour. So he'd bring this team in. We'd have programs and flyers. He'd sell billboards. He'd have flags. And the most important thing he did, he put the rugby people on the gate because they didn't know nobody. So everybody coming in had to pay. So and from the money that we raised, that very first tour, that youth team went away in 1979 and won that tournament. Yes. From all the money Mr. Hayward raised in our group of things to help send them away. And, he did it for years. That man put so much money and effort into promotion of sports and events to help people. It was, he was a legend in his own right.
And one name you reeled off earlier was a member of that team, Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce. Yeah, Paul Pierce. Yeah. So, we
and excellent football as well.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah. We got exposed to a lot of great cricketers in the 70s. I played against Desmond Haynes as a young boy, Gus Luggy. When he came in and said, "You remember him?" He said, "I remember you, Derek Mariolis. I remember playing against you. I was a young boy then. Yeah, I played against all those fellows, man." Oh. And and it was opportunities like that. These boys can't play against these fellows today. They're not ready.
Just that was it. Bacardi was sponsored by Bacardi.
Yeah, that was the double. And then right. Mr. Hayward would bring these tours in. And
it was the other one. Was it the Wanderers? What
Bermuda? Mr. Hayward's group was called the Bermuda Wanderers.
Bermuda Wanderers.
Where he would pick from the best of Bermuda. And we organized a cricket tour. So then he would have events on which you would have to go work to earn money to pay for your thing. Whether it was a paint job, whether it was cleaning the windows at the hospital, or it was a car wash, or selling raffle tickets. And every time you sold, it went down as a credit towards your account. Now, if you was lazy and didn't do anything, and the tour was $1,500, you had to pay. I made sure I showed up at every event. I sold all my raffle tickets. And when I got to the airport, I had an envelope that had money in because I had contributed more, because he said, "I'm going to provide all this, but we're going to work together, and you're going to help your own self."
Now it was the Wanderers tour, and then there was another game. It was Bermudians versus West Indies.
I played in that. The first one I played in Bermudian residents against the West Indian born residents.
Yes.
That's when we just came back from the World Cup in England, 1979. So Mr. Hayward wanted to have this game. So I played in that match. Just so happened to win the Man of the Match award. Made 87, had 2 catches and a stumping. And Sir Conrad Hunt presented me with the Man of the Match. So I played in that for several years. And then we went from one game to 2. And those funds were raised to help youth cricket.
Now 79, the 79, it was 82 we just missed out, wasn't it, for World Cup qualification? 79 we came runners up.
79 we lost in the semifinals to Canada thanks to the umpire. Had a fella caught behind. If he hit it any harder, it would have been 4 runs. And he said not out, and then we never got another wicket. But in 82 they lost out too, I think. I didn't go in that tour. I didn't make that for several reasons, which I wish not to speak about.
But just to go back to 79, that was a big year for you as a cricketer. Obviously, for the first time in 20 years, Somerset celebrated the cup match, won the cup match.
Yeah, I was selected in 1978, and we played in that famous draw where Campbell Simons batted all day, and Randy Horton at the end. Him and Randy had a great stand. And then 79, we had that famous result up there. Unbelievable excitement on the field. The intensity around the field of Somerset spectators realizing that a victory was possible after 20 years was phenomenal, And that is the game where it's alleged that Timmy Edwards reeled the wicket at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know about that, but anyway, it was alleged. But those were moments that
that's the first I've heard of that.
when you look back in the annals of cricket, it was intense cricket going on there with, Somerson's team, 1979 was 8 World Cup players plus 3. That's what they called the 8+B.
Yes.
Randy Horton, Robin Hines, and Quentin Sherlock were the other 3 that went with the 8 of us that came from the World Cup. And it was
practically the national team.
Yeah, it was phenomenal cricket, man. It's like everybody battling hard. The wicket was decent the second day. And then Coach Trott, he went on the spell there in the second innings, man. He was turning that ball, and next thing you know, St. George's is out for 7, 9, 80 or something. And people rolling on the field like crazy, trying to rip your pads off, take your gloves, take your hat.
That's one of the piece of history.
One piece of history. The excitement was unbelievable, and it's good for the game that it changes, that one team's not winning all the time, because it becomes sometimes dull. But when that happened, and since there's been a lot of back and forth of teams winning, but I haven't been to convention in quite a while. I don't think I'm missing anything.
Well, after your retirement, Bermuda did actually get that opportunity to qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah.
2007 down in the West Indies.
Yeah.
What did you think about that? And Gus was the coach, of course, who you had played against many years before.
Well, I guess they got an opportunity there, because I don't know how many teams were allowed in from the associate countries. I know it was 3 or 4. And I thought that, there was an opportunity going on the big stage, but I don't quite think they were prepared.
Interesting to note, though, a lot of those players were like surviving members of some of the advice and coaching they would have gotten from Bob Jones.
Yes, yeah.
He had an influence on them and on their development, and they were like at the end of their careers, the Dean Marnuses, the Clays. They came up through that. And also, you mentioned Al again earlier. I was talking about Al James. What about the Shao? We talked about what the input that others had put in the game, but Shao invested a lot, and we had the Shao Junior, the youth league.
Shao Shield Cricket,
which
was the building ground for the base of Bermuda cricket. What they created there was something second to none. They provided stumps, bowls, umpires, lunch, everything. And that was a great parish competition. And a lot of these young boys that came up in that era went on to represent Bermuda, playing cup match. And that there was like a breeding ground. But unfortunately, Shell stepped aside and another organization took it over, and it didn't last. Because you have to be committed, organized, and be ready to sacrifice for the development of these youngsters. And then, if the umpires aren't showing up and the stumps aren't there and the balls aren't there, nobody's bringing the lunch, people get dismayed.
Tea back then, tea as well.
Yeah, tea, and then, every club we had
scores.
All the ladies making the sandwiches and stuff at tea time, making iced tea. You had scores. A lot of people never appreciate the score that's sitting there all day long. It's like Somerset had the guy Hockey Thompson up there. Remember Hockey?
No.
He was the cup match scorer, and he did that for years and years and years. And that guy was dedicated, and you need all that, because some people don't understand. A lot of these young boys today don't understand that the game is bigger than they are. It's because you can't play that. It's not going to stop the game. The game will go on with or without you. And that is the type of perception that they have today, that they think all that out there with a black belt on, black socks, clothes looking like they came out of the bag, wrinkled, dirty pants, dirty shoes. Embarrassing.
And that's one thing that Mr. Wainwright is quite known for, his apparel.
I have some pictures of myself. Somebody sent me a picture the other day of Sad Brown and I in the middle of a game, in the middle of it talking. And if you saw the cleanliness of all our equipment and pads, you would say, they look like 2 Mr. Cleans. But that's what you take pride in. I used to take the shoelaces out of my boots. on a Saturday, wash them and hang them up, and then clean them and put them back. Do my boots, do my pair, wash my pairs in the tub, because I was the first one to have those styrofoam pairs, like big keeping pair. I put them in the tub, wash them, hang them up, and all the water dripped on. Everything. I have like 8 pairs of pants, 8 shirts, big keeping pants, batting pants. I think they show up with 1 pair of whites. That's why they go in the field looking like dirt all over the place. It starts with your personal pride. And when you go in the field, not only are you representing yourself, you're representing your club. And you never know who's in the crowd as spectators looking at you. You could have some very successful business fellows there, and they see you, they're all dressed up and you're carrying your deportment. I like to speak to that young gentleman, or maybe offer him opportunity of employment, or see if I can assist him anyway. They don't understand that, because you have to go in the field understanding your role and your position. You're one of 11. You're not the number one. You're one of 11. And I think that's where our sports, unfortunately, Bermuda has gone. The level of integrity, discipline, and respecting your club that you're representing. You not respecting the people that you're playing with, your captain. I think we lost that. We lost those values. That's my personal opinion.
And your community, because your club is an extension of the community,
exactly.
and that badge, it means something. It really
very
does.
Very much so. Yeah,
it really does. I've had conversations with many folks, and I tell them even to today, like, although certain athletes are no longer on that stage or administrators or whatnot, I still have that respect for that organization and what it represents and their legacy.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I mean, it still means something to me.
You said a key word there, community, because all the clubs are in various different sections of the community. So they provide an opportunity for young people to go there and maybe run around the field if they don't play cricket and football. Just somewhere for them to go in an organized, safe environment to exercise and have fun with their friends. And if they like cricket, they'd be given opportunity. But see, next thing you know, they're coming there, they're getting involved in the field in practice. They might let them have a little knock, or they give them an opportunity to build. Very important, and help the social development in this country. Sports is always a great leveler of that. It solves a lot of social issues, because when sports are being played, not only the people that are there playing, but there are spectators. So when that event is going on, there's no nonsense going on. Everybody's at the event. And that sports forms a very integral part of the whole world. If you remove sports from the world, it'd be a sad situation. That's my personal opinion.
It'll be a sadder place.
Yeah.
But we're going to hold that for a minute, folks. We'll be back in just a moment with more from Bermuda sports legend, Mr. Barry Decouto.
This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Linda's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else?
Are you looking for an event coordinator or filming crew for a live television broadcast? Search no more. Gino Crimson is at your service, specializing in international 3D graphics, event creative, and technical direction. We offer a product second to none. A combination of 2 well-known production companies, Gino Group and Crimson Multimedia, together bring more than 20 years of experience in production of local and international ad campaigns and television broadcast programming. Specializing in national sporting events, Gino Crimson is also known for the full production of the annual Sports Awards, Kappa Classics Live pay-per-view boxing events, the general and municipal elections, the T-Talk Show, Cut Match Classic, and much more. Providing the best of the island's skilled production crew, we organize an amazing network of camera operators, directors, vision mixers, on-camera hosts, sports anchors, and beauty consultants, all while using the latest in production equipment for a high-quality live television broadcast. Gino Crimson. Our vision is to make your request a reality, and we would be happy to be a part of your next event.
This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Linda's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else?
And welcome back. Mr. Decouto, in the previous segment, or earlier in the show, you mentioned about how sport helps one's develop character and integrity and discipline, et cetera, et cetera. Who are others that, had a big influence in instilling some of these values in you?
Okay, first of all, start with my father. He was a very disciplined man. He loved sports. He loved me to play cricket and football. He was also president of National Sports Club down there several times. So as a young boy, I would always be on the field with my bat and ball with my three mates down in the corner with the trash can playing. And as I got a little older, then I went over to where the seniors were practicing, 12 years old, and I started getting involved in the practice with Stromberly, Ferris, Bush De Silva, Gerald Sims, Harold Sims, Graham Tavares, James Cabral, Donald Tatum, all these, Robbie Haas, all these fellas, and I would be allowed to go in the nets. And then when I was 13, they were having a Thursday afternoon game in the summer. The second 11, I got selected to play. I keep wicket over. I went over to BA and kept wicket, and that was my first introduction to playing in a league game as opposed to playing in school. And as Nationals developed over the year, and a few younger fellas came along. In 1971, Rupert Scotland came to Nationals and became the player coach. That changed the whole dynamics of our club in reference to training, what we did at training. And he put a lot of emphasis on fielding because he said everybody can't bat, everybody can't bowl, but we all have to go in the field together. So whenever training session we had, which is 3 times a week, and don't miss one, you won't be on the team sheet. It ended in an hour of fielding practice. Sometimes in the dark down there, you could hardly see, catching balls and throwing balls. And as a result of that, 1970, we won the league through our fielding. National Sports Club was a very large brand, and Stromberly Ferris had the boundaries out so far, you need a taxi to get to them, right? And if we made 120 runs, it was like 300, and no team ever got there. Because you had people like Tinty Mean, Clive Donald, Larry Osmond, Dick DeTrott came to play there, Rupert Scotland, a few other fellows, Blip Morris, Robert Gaggia, Frankie Brewster, Barry Sousa, myself. And we had a little formidable team there. And it was all about the feeling, taking all the catches, and then Rupert Scotland, tremendous, man. That man was, they used to call him in time of crisis, call Rupert Scotland. Anytime a team is in trouble, that man went in, he batted his way out of the trouble, and the next thing he's got a century. I remember one game playing against Bailey's Bay, and Larry Osmond was the opening batter. Larry was a fellow grafter, right? And Rupert Scotland came and looked like the weather was going to be bad. He said, I'm going in now, I want to score some quick runs. And he went to the wicket, and Larry had 43. And when Rupert had his century, Larry had 52. He made a century in about 32 minutes. Rupert Scotland, amazing fella. Strategic when it comes to field placing, obviously observing batsmen, what they like, what they don't like, and he just knew how to set a field and he put pressure on people. So we learned a lot from him in reference to the game of coming to training. And if you didn't come to training 3 nights a week, you would not be reserved. And when you were reserved, you better be sitting right in those chairs next to him with your whites on and be prepared at any time to go in the field when it was not. If you had to change your clothes, don't worry about next week. You can come training 4 nights. You won't be on that team because you didn't do what you're supposed to do the week before.
So it was strict.
So that man helped my development. And then when George Rock became the national coach, and I'd be up the stadium all the time training with the national George B. Building. And I was becoming very good as a young boy because I loved the game of cricket. I'd be training hard. And George said, you're going to be the national wicketkeeper soon. He said, but one thing I want you to do, just let your gloves do the talking. Don't say anything because you are the next Bermuda wicketkeeper. Just, people can say a lot of nonsense to you. Just ignore them and let your gloves do the talk and then your bat. And that's the attitude I developed over the year because majority of people standing on the sideline shouting at you, don't know which end of the bat to hurl. They're shouting out a whole lot of stupidness, right, for all sorts of reasons. So I just played my game and stayed in my lane, as they say, and ignored those people because I know they couldn't play like me. And whatever they're saying is irrelevant to what I'm good because that ball out there is coming down, don't know nobody. I experienced a lot of hardships and times of cricket in the era that I was in because a lot of times I was in the white Portuguese fella on the field. And I absorbed a lot of abuse sometimes. It didn't bother me because that ball didn't know who I was. And when he came short, it went outside the ground. It's as simple as that. And I was playing with my mates, and we had a good time. And we trained hard, and we ran hard, and we worked out because we were a unit. And in order to be successful in any teams, it has to be the unit that works together. Cricket is a game of individual performances, but grouped into a team of 11. And if you don't have the right pieces in the right place, it's not going to be successful.
So you took a lot of abuse from spectators.
Yes,
because of your
football was worse. Bottles and rocks be coming in the goal. I experienced all of that. One time in the last game of the season, when Hotels was on the verge of winning the trophy, the first division league. Up Somerset, Charlie Marshall had to stop the game. I was down the southern end, and the sticks and the rocks and the bottles were coming. He said he called the officials on the field. They were trying to rock me. we were holding out. We had such a big goal difference lead. We lost the game 4-1 to Somerset, but we still won the league on goal difference. But I mean, none of that stuff bothered me. My father told me that from a long time ago. You're playing sport. Don't worry about those people on the side. They can't influence what you do. So that was a title clinching game. Yeah, yes, it was. Yeah, we won the football. 1974 San Hotels. We had a fantastic team those days. No, you've jumped right into the football. Yeah, and you mentioned earlier in the show how you were a center half first. Yeah. When did you start? Really make this transition or evolve into a goalkeeper? Well, why? Yeah, well, that's when I went away. And I had done a little bit of goalkeeping younger before that. And the guy broke his arm. He had nobody else. I told the coach I could go in the goal. So I went in the goal, and that's where I remained the rest of my career as a goalkeeper. When I went away to the college, we played 4 22-minute quarters. There was 3 referees, unlimited substitution. I would play in the goal, and then I come out the second half, score goals. It was it was all sorts of action going on. It was nonstop, balls coming in, players coming in. And so soccer, and that was in the late 60s, early 70s when they called it, that was evolving in the States. And you had a lot of youngsters playing there. And then, of course, you had the North American Soccer League, which Randy Horton and Cat Newsom played for the Cosmos and all that type of fellows. When they Gary Darrell, Gumbo Bean, Pink Sluice, all these fellows went and played in different areas. They had great opportunity, Pepe Deal. And that was exciting, man. Exciting action. But as a young boy, I came up in the area where the social club was the greatest team of all time. You came up in social club. Social club. I get on my little push bike and ride from Smith's Parish to the box to go watch social club. Wherever they played, if they was playing in Somerset or St. George's, there's a gentleman that stayed very close to me, Mr. George Marshall. His son and I were good friends. We get in the Morris Minor, and he'd take me to the game because I wanted to watch social club. Bubba Daniels was the greatest center half of all time. They had a team there that went 78 games in a row without losing. They won the Triple Crown 3 years in a row. And I would get on my little bike and ride to wherever they was playing to watch. It was either Dennis Wainwright or Early Richardson and Gill, Mickey Cairns, Dick Dan, Bubba Daniels, Bump Simmons, Earl Brown. And then they had a forward line of 5 fellas. Kid Tuck on the right, Sam Brown on the left, David Lanley up the middle, John Rifleman Roach, and Pepe Deal. And then you would have Myron Benz. And then they also had a fellow named Bull Lewis. He went on to play professional soccer in Scotland for Aberdeen. Bo Lewis. Yeah, Bo. Nips' brother. Yeah, he went on to play professional soccer in Aberdeen. I followed that social club everywhere they went. I just loved to watch those fellas play, man. So they were at the box, and they played anywhere they played. Casuarina. Where did they? Casuarina Park was the home field. But these people today don't know where Casuarina Park is. Where the BGA warehouse is today. And then when they played against Casuals, they played at Port Royal School. And then they played on Garrison Field. They played Wellington, PHC, but they play up Somerset, Daventry Rec. PHC had a different name at that time, didn't it? I couldn't. Was it Stevens Field? Well, that was the fellow that had the driving range. Put the driving range up there. He was just before his time, but that was a brilliant thing that he had hooked up there. But it just never developed because golf wasn't at that stage what it is today. But that social club team, man, my God. Bubba Daniels, that man was amazing.
So what was it like, the atmosphere at the box? I mean, because it's a tiny spot.
Yeah. Thousands of people.
I could imagine.
Thousands of people would be there. And I'll be standing on my bike trying to look over the wall to watch this game. Oh, my God. You talking about excitement? You talking about football? Those fellas playing with that hard T-ball. Man, when Jordan Rifleman Roach struck that ball, that's why they call him Rifleman. That thing be sizzling in that. Myron Benz, Pepe, David Landry was one of the quickest center forwards, and he also ran track and field. He was fast, man. So they had a team that was unbelievable, man.
You know, interesting. There's a legend, local legend suggests that that rifleman John Roach broke the crossbar once.
I heard that he hit the ball so hard the crossbar, but he had his leg never went back far, but when he came through that ball, it's a powerful strike, man.
And he's a small fella.
Small fella. See, these are the things that these children today need to have some history written up so they can read about these fellas. It's shame we didn't have enough videos for them to see the technique and the way the game flew. You thought you didn't have no 5 forwards today. When those 5 fellas came at you, it was trouble.
Interesting also, no substitutions.
You played hurt or you went off the field.
That's a bit cruel, isn't it?
It's like Devonshire Colts in the 70s. They had a forward line there of Marcus Douglas, Willis Cann, Pepe Dill, Gary Darrell, Albert Durlin. When those 5 were coming at you, you better get some plywood for that girl. Those fellas are coming, man. Unbelievable. Football there was at a standard that's why they won the silver medal in the Pan Am game. Graham Adams came here and took over as coach of that team. And he got them so fit because he said the fitness will overlook ability. Even though you're quite talented, we need to be that much fitter in order to compete with these people that are a little bit more talented. And that's why those guys were so good.
So for you, primarily, you were a cricketer. You consider yourself a cricketer.
Cricket was,
and football. What was the motive? For football, just keeping condition.
No, because I had with my friend. I wanted to play with my friend. So first game I played with academicals, which people don't know. There's a bunch of school teachers, and Tinty Ming, Russell Knight, Shilling Bears, and Quentin Sherlock myself went there to play. And I played there for 2 years. Then I went to play with hotels for a lot of hotel workers and guys from BA, everybody came out and played together. Then I played with Southampton Rangers for a couple of years. I'm part of that famous game where they walked off the field and I sat in the goal because of a penalty. Tell
us about that, because that was mentioned just recently. Yeah, because they did. That's a similar incident happened with them this season.
It's what you call a very disputed penalty to begin with.
Okay, so it was the friendship final, wasn't it?
Friendship final, 0-0 all the way, getting on to the end. And for whatever reason, I don't know, that the ball was, I came out to pick up the ball. Somebody ran into me and the referee said penalty. Who told him to say that? So Dilly Dick was the captain. And so the referee is awarding the penalty. Gumbo Bean and Mel Bean is already off the field. And John Tucker standing outside the semicircle. And the referee's telling him to get back. And John said, I'm 6 inches away from the line. George said, I'm not moving. He said, if you don't move, I'm going to send you off the field. In the meantime, I'm over there talking to the North Village boy, telling him, you're not scoring today. Because I played against him in the Martin Mayer Cup semifinal and stopped 3 of the first 4 penalties. So I'm already in their head. I say, Gumbo and Mal's not there, so I know what you going to do. But that ball's not going in this net today. And when I turn around, they're walking off the field. I said, what is going on? So I left Wendell Simmons, Johnny Adams, myself on the field. The other 8 fellas went off the field. Randy Benjamin was the coach. He was so upset. It was amazing. Because we had him. I know I could stop that ball. They weren't getting in that net.
It was serious consequences for those who walked off, wasn't it? What
anywhere up to 1 to 5 years in suspensions. Yeah, it was you don't do that. You stay in the field, and whether you win or lose, you take your licks or you bath in glory.
What about that atmosphere, though? I mean, a cup final.
Oh my God, thousands
up at the old National Stadium.
Thousands of people up there to watch Southampton Rangers. We had a great season that year because we had a nice team under Randy Benjamin's tutelage and coaching, and I think we came second in the league. We lost in the Martin Mayer Cup final. We was in the Friendship Trophy final. That went into overtime. That was an amazing game.
So you started at Social Club.
Started watching Social Club. I started playing football academicals.
Academicals.
Yeah, 2 years, and then they filled. Then I went to hotels. Played little ranges, and then I played 2 games with Somerset, and then we started getting ready for the World Cup.
How you
cricket.
got up Somerset after they bottled you? That took a lot of nerve.
Randy Horton was the coach. He asked me to come up there.
The beer sorted them out.
Yeah, the beer will sort you all out, right? And then we started training for the World Cup cricket. So I said we trained every Saturday and Sunday. We started at 10, finished at 3. So I really didn't have no time to go play because I really wanted to be in that World Cup team to go to England. And we would be training up the Canadian base. Bob Jones had 24 to 28 up there training every Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 2, running, exercise, training. Had artificial mats down net park. Unbelievable. And then we'd have a little game at Royal Naval Field if the weather was good. And then we played cricket for 2 years, nonstop in preparation for that under Bob Jones. Bob Jones, tremendous coach. And the most disappointing thing of that whole selection process, he wasn't allowed to go. How could you go to a World Cup tournament without the coach? It's one of the most unbelievable debacles in the history of Bermuda cricket.
We always look forward to Coach Jones coming to school. I was in primary school.
Yeah.
And one of the memories I have was he bought the stumps that had the spring on it.
Yes. Yeah.
That was the first time I had seen those.
Yeah,
and, the early memories. And, back then they give you 1 pair to bat one. They didn't give you 2.
Yeah.
So those were some of my early memories.
Plus, he also started a great game in the schools where he had 6-a-side. And he had you bat for 2 overs and you bowl for 2. Everybody had opportunity to play, right? And I thought that was a great development of cricket to what he did. See, he was in the schools, he was in the youth teams, he's in the national squad, and for whatever reason, his contract ran out and that was ending him. But he was on the verge of great development of cricket in our country. And, we had a few since. I guess we had Mr. Logie. We had Roger Harper's brother. Mark Harper. I still think none of them had the intensity of Bob Jones and what he brought to the game in reference to fielding and tactics, and tremendous instruction from bowlers, teaching them about like I was talking, the return crease. Some people run up and bowl all day in the same spot, don't understand. Come in, go away. So that's where, as you become more experienced and knowledgeable about the game, you understand, like I was talking about earlier, angles.
It's interesting that when you mentioned about the return crease, I was doing some research once and I stumbled across some literature and it was an interview with Sheridan Rayner, and he was talking about the expertise or some of the things he learned when he was studying down in the West Indies doing a crash course on pitches. And there was something about the return crease that stood out for me, because there is something that groundsmen can do to give a team an advantage.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I never knew that. So I keep that one. I keep that one in my arsenal on the wraps. But we're going to take a quick break, folks, and we'll be right back with more from Bermuda sports legend, Mr. Barry Decouto.
This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Lindo's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else? Crimson Multimedia is a full-service video production company. We can take your next project from concept to completion. We produce small one-camera setups to complex large-scale multi-camera productions. We offer editing, visual effects, and file transfers. We also broadcast and live stream both free and pay-per-view events. Visit our website at www.crimsonmultimedia.bm for a quote or to contact us. Let Crimson Multimedia film, edit, broadcast, and stream your next event. This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Lindo's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else?
Mr. Decouto, during the break, we were just talking about another great legendary bowler, cricketer, Clarence Parford, who was a guest not too long ago on the show.
Right.
And now, obviously, you've had some experience. Let's talk a bit about, you teaming up with a fellow legend in Mr. Parfit.
Yeah, he came to play cricket at Nationals, and we formed a very formidable unit. Him in the bill, and myself as a wicketkeeper. And he had developed a different ball over the years. He have the in swing, and then he'd have the leg break, and then he'd have the cross hand. But over the years, he developed one that he built off this finger here, the ring finger, that it would slide down the leg side. But the most dangerous ball was the fast leg break, especially the wicket hitter, because fellas try to get out there. And of course, when they missed, it was night, as though this gray leg umpire had a message for him. And we at one time in an article in Bermuda Sun after a weekend where I had stumped a lot of fellas, they said Batman and Robin has taken over the game. So they call Parfit Batman and me Robin as the bowler and the wicketkeeper. And that's the name they associated with us because we had so many dismissals together as a wicketkeeping bowler. It was amazing how we developed that relationship and partnership over the years. I mean, to me, it's one of the greatest builders in the world. When Gary Sobers tells you this man is world class. I mean, in 1962, I think a team came here from England and played against a pick team up Somerset. Him and Lee Rayner built at Yorkshire with Gary Sobers and all them for 62 runs. They didn't know which way the ball was coming. Parfit was building. That was on a concrete wicket with turf with the coconut matting. But this just shows how that guy, not only was he a great bowler on the concrete, but he evolved his game into the turf and became such an amazing bowler with that sharp leg break and the in swing. And oh my God, I got so many stompings off that guy. And I'd have fellas come to the wicket, taking guard and say, "You're not gonna get me today, Decouto." I said, "You be going in 3 balls." Because they worried more about me than Parfit. And next thing you know, I'm either stumped them or all the stumps is laying down. Because they're focusing on me instead of the ball. They're worried already about the combination that they're about to face. So there's a lot of chatter that went on over the years. As a wicketkeeper, you always have a lot of conversation with people. Some good and some bad. There might have been a little bit of sledging, but there's also a lot of laughter when you're playing against your mates from different teams. Back in those days, you had a nucleus 200 cricketers in Bermuda. So you knew everybody. You knew the strengths and weaknesses. You played against them all the time. So there was a lot of fun in that respect. But Parfit, never see another one like him again.
So what would you tell the batsman?
I said
one of the nicest things you tell the batsman.
I said, one of the things when he missed the ball, he said, "I look at my glove. Is that what you're looking for?" Yeah.
Did any tempers boil over any time? Some batsmen lost their cool.
Some batsmen got the cool because they were stumped out so fast, they didn't know what happened. They so annoyed that they missed the ball. And once they missed, it was over, Oh, and that came from training together a lot and learning what he was doing with the ball and me assessing the wicket and how much sometimes the ball turning 2 or 3 feet. He pitched it outside the leg. I'm taking it outside the wall. And the guy's over. He don't know which way it's going. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal fellow, man.
And then just to jump back over to football,
right.
What was some of you mentioned winning the league title with Hotels?
Yeah.
Any other honors you won with any other teams?
No, I've been in some finals, but unfortunately, we lost. With Hotels, we lost in the Friendship Trophy final. Rangers, we played in Martin Cup final. We lost in the overtime to Somerset, and then lost, and then the Friendship Trophy walk off the field. Left me and the girl sitting there looking at the sky, wonder what's going on. That's I played a lot of exciting games, but cricket has always been my first love. And I played a little bit of golf, and then I became.
Where did golf come into the picture?
So I always played from young. Butch Linder taught me golf from a very young age. And my father, he would take me up ocean and we played some golf. But then after the cricket, I got into the golf very serious, where I would go first thing in the morning, hit 600, 700, 800 balls, and then go play and then come back and hit balls. And in 6 months, I got my handicap down to 1, and then I eventually became a professional and played in tournaments overseas, and I won some tournaments here. And then that golf is so addictive. It's amazing because I played 7 days a week for years.
And obviously Butch Lindo was
he was one of the best amateurs around.
One of the first Portuguese members up at Ocean View when they integrated.
Yeah.
So a pioneer there.
Yeah.
And
And my father,
a big influence on you.
and my father were good friends, and that's why he come pick me up. And we get out of Castle Arm, the old number 4, and he'll have about 1,000 balls all laid out all over the place. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, pick me up, and we get on there from about 5 o'clock until the moon was up, hitting and chipping and hitting balls and putting. I learned a lot from him because he said, the game of golf is a very simple game. Golf is confusing, and he's 3 things that he taught me about golf that I use in all my career. When you're standing the ball, pretend you're sitting on the stool. When you take the club back, pretend you're ringing the bell and get your navel to the target. I followed all that my entire life of golfing. The 3 simple things. People think too much about when the golf swing. Keep it simple. Golf is a game where you have to concentrate for 30, 40 seconds, and then you walk. It's not an intense all the time. It's I'm walking, and then I get to my ball, I assess my shot, the yardage, the club, and then I concentrate, and then I go on. So a lot of people get all hyped up in between. Calm down so that when you approach the ball and you know what you're about to do, then you could focus, and you never swing before you're ready. When I first became a senior, I won the first senior tournament I played in Belmont. We had a big field with Frankie, Early, all these fellas. And I won by 17 shots because I was playing golf every day. And, and I played in some other tournaments in Trinidad. I've been in Ireland a lot playing in tournaments. I've been in Spain. I've been in Canada. And so I've seen the world through sport, which is one of the most beautiful things. In like 1979, when we went to World Cup cricket, we all ended up inside Buckingham Palace. All of the teams, because that was the first time in the history of cricket where the Big 6 and all the associate countries were gathered together. And the Queen invited everybody to Buckingham Palace for a cocktail party. So as a cricketer, with a cricket ball, I got to go inside Buckingham Palace and meet the Queen, Prince Philip, Prince Charles, and Princess Anne, be in a room with all these cricketers, being entertained, and then to go to Lord's for lunch. It was a very historical moment, 1979. So that's a highlight, which... Who's been inside Buckingham Palace? Not many people in Bermuda. So I consider myself lucky. I got there through a cricket ball.
Wow. And obviously you were a professional, right? You played golf.
And I played golf as a professional. I played in all sorts of tournaments.
You won many tournaments here?
Yeah, I won a few tournaments. And then I've also played in Trinidad and Tobago. Was always a great challenge. Lovely course down there. It's a great challenge. And I've had some good times, man. Sport has taken me all around the world. And sports is a great developer of people's character because you have to be disciplined. If you're not disciplined, then you're going to be haywire. You're not going to be able to perform because you're not mentally prepared properly to deal with the situation that you're coming in contact with. A lot of these children, they don't think like that.
You think, when you look at cricket or football, when you look at the standard, how do you assess the standard today?
I think it's embarrassing.
From where it used to be.
From in my time. And when we had Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica coming here, I played against New Zealand. I played against Australia, Kim Hughes, Australia. I played against Hyderabad Blues from India that had 5 test players, Chandrasekhar and these fellas. So we were exposed to cricketers that the likes of which you've never seen.
Did Tendulkar come here on one of those tours?
I never played
Hyderabad Blues?
No, this was a Kamani and Chandrasekhar time. That was in the 70s, right?
Way before.
Yeah, way before his time. And then, you had and then Bermuda used to have a test match against the United States. It was played for what they call the Sir Henry Tucker Trophy. And I played in that a few times. And with Rupert Scotland. And
where was that match?
That was at the National Stadium a few times. And then we also went to the United States and they played at Staten Island. Had a 3-day game over there. And we went all around the States touring and stuff. And that was a great game. And then after a while, they developed the Triangle Series. I remember they had the Triangle, Canada, United States, and Bermuda. They had that going on for a while. And then that all just dissipated. I don't know, for whatever reason. But these are the things that help promote the development of cricket because it gives an opportunity to a player to look forward to, if I get my game in order, maybe I may be selected to play in this game. So there's different levels of cricket that you need to aspire to get to the international level to give yourself opportunity to be selected and play in this and gain the experience. But T20 is ruined Test cricket.
Yeah, it's now you got T20, the 50 overs.
Yeah.
what was it? Kerry Packer started that.
Yeah. Kerry Packer started the World Series of Cricket, which was the best thing ever happened for cricketers because they finally got paid what they deserve. Because a lot of cricketers back in the day, they had to have a job in the wintertime. Then they played cricket in the summer, job in the winter. But as a result of Kerry Packer increasing the salaries and what people actually deserve to be paid, you created that type of atmosphere and environment where people wanted to go play cricket. And then Test cricket became a full-time job, where people started getting contracts and started getting paid for a 1-day game, a 3-day game, a 5-day game, a per diem, and all. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Cricketers were always on the bottom end of the financial side.
What about here? Cup match. Players today, are rewarded. They are paid for cup match. Through contributions or whatever. However the clubs raise it.
Yeah.
But was that the case back in your time?
Well, I remember when I played for cup match. This is funny. We were paid $75 a day. The vice captain got 100, and the captain got 125. And I remember 1979 sitting on that balcony of with Randy Horton as the captain, and some of the selectors. And Randy Horton said, "This is on the Tuesday night. If we don't get a raise, we're not going on the field." He said, "I want $100 for the players. I want $125 for the vice captain. I want $150 for the captain. That's each day." They were humming and hawing. So Horton said, "I guess you selectors are going on the field because we're not going on the field." So they agreed. And of course, that game produced so many spectators. It was unbelievable. It probably in 2 days, probably had 25 to 30,000 people up there. Because on the second day, when it looked like Somerset was on the verge of victory, people came out of the houses and drones to come there to be at the match to watch. So those days, cup match was a very big event financially. From the gate, the bars, the food concession, crown and anchor, the whole persona. And then you had the TV and commentary, and it was fantastic.
Now back in that time, because you're talking 79, what was like $100 worth? Did that go far back in that time? Or was that it worth more than it is today? Yeah,
it's just, let's just look at the price of a beer at a social club. It probably was $1. When you go to a club, and that's $6, $7, $8, right? So when you look at the comparison, that was probably worth like $500, $600.
Wow.
And in comparison to today's values, as we know, times change.
I don't know, what the structure is today.
Yeah. I hate to think what it is.
But it's interesting. A lot of people, are not aware of that. But yes,
there's probably
the players. What do you think of the format? I mean, they play a lot of cricket. They're out on their field for a long time. But I believe it's like the longest game.
Cup matches always cricket. Cup matches in the history of the cricket around the world has always been the longest two-day game in the world. Started at 10 o'clock. We used to stop at 1. And in my time, when you went back on the field at 20 to 2, there was no more breaks until you came off the field at 6:30. And then they introduced on the second day, the start of the 20 overs. Mm-hmm. So until they introduced that breaks, you could be on the field from 20 to 2 to 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. Which is unheard of, and you only had this water break and that water break. I don't know how the poor umpires made out sometimes, because, sometimes it's very hot and, the water breaks weren't coming as often as they should. And because water breaks and lunch is a very integral part of the game of cricket and getting breakthroughs in cricket, because therefore you are disturbing people's concentration. A lot of people don't understand that's very important to have a water break, because it gives yourself an opportunity to talk to your team, and that person who's batting now's got to go back in and refocus. And like sudden declaration that catches the fielding team off balance. Oh my God, we got to go bat now. Let's rush in and get, So this is all part of the strategy of the game of cricket. But because you had great captains those days, I don't know if these captains on that level now to think about the various different tactics involved in the game, or the field place, and putting pressure on batsmen when trouble is around, a new batsman coming. You gotta put pressure on people, because you got to make them feel uneasy. Cup match, even though it's a game between two clubs, it's not a first class game. It's the biggest sporting cricket event in Bermuda, and young people aspire to play cup match. So therefore, when they're on that stage, they're going to be nervous if it's the first time. You're going to put pressure on people.
Did you go on the boat back then during that era? Did the team actually travel? Because there was
No, we never.
Kanema used to go.
Yeah, okay. I never went to the game on the boat.
To the game, but did the teams actually go on the boat as well?
The last year I played, 1981, I came back from St. George to Somerset on the boat, because that's the game where we won, and that had lasted for under 30-some years until Somerset had won just recently a game in St. George's. But that was the last time we won by 9 wickets, 1981.
I think Joe Bailey was the captain.
Joe Bailey was the captain. Yeah,
I think it was his last year. Was that his last year?
I don't know if it's last year, but he heard a lot.
I think it was.
He heard a lot from me that day. I put some licks in him.
Why?
Put some pressure on these fellas. The crumbling, let's go. You know what I mean? Winston Reed played a very integral part in that match from his left arm spinners. We got a few people up because I told you we're gonna crowd these bats. He had Sad, he had Tyrone, he had somebody in the slips. I said, we have 5 people around the bed. Fella come and start getting boop, boop. Next thing is St. George's trouble. Clevey made a great stand. He had a lot, but he ran out of partners, and then we had to go in and make 32. I think Sad got out early. And Tyron Smith went in and just destroyed Adrian King. I mean, he hit 1-6 back over the schoolboy. Another one, his last inning going towards Gadet and Young, is over.
Wow, and St. George's were obviously rebuilding then too. A lot of youngsters at that time.
There was a lot of youngsters. Still, you had Nils.
You guys were fed nothing.
Still had the Nils and Cleavies and Charlies and Adrian King and Ken Pitcher. It was quite a team, but it was good cricket.
Well, Barry, it's been Mr. Decouto. It's been a awesome experience having you here on the show today.
Enjoy talking with you.
And I'm deeply honored. I'm deeply honored, and to hear, to walk down memory lane.
Yes.
And educate us, on a lot of things that we didn't know, giving us more insights.
Of course, yeah.
Definitely, congratulations to you on a fabulous career and your contributions to Bermuda sport. Before we go, any special shout outs to anyone out? Well,
unfortunately, my parents have passed on, but I'm sure they're looking down today. And my father was very proud of me as a sportsman, because you have to be. That's a very disciplined thing, and you leave it all on the field. That's one thing about the game. In my time, we was a lot of camaraderie when you came, even with the visiting team. I don't know if that exists today, but for the umpires and the officials that were involved, those are the people that deserve a lot of credit, because they donated a lot of the time officiating for very little compensation. And without officials, there is no game. All right. So special shout out to all our officials and all those who help to make the games what they are and whatnot, and contribute to make it all happen, those behind the scenes. But unfortunately, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining.
This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Windows Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else?
Bermuda is beautiful and the roads in Bermuda are safe. Let's enjoy the ride.
There are no highways in Bermuda, and the roadways are narrow and windy. You might just run into the risk of having a direct collision with another vehicle, an object, a wall, the sidewalk, or plunging into the ocean.
Fathers, mothers, aunties, uncles, brothers, and sisters, please observe the road code. We are trying to protect you.
Your reaction time to avoid an accident can fail you. Healthy drivers are better drivers.
Good time management can save your life. Do not try to take 15 minutes to get from St. George's to Hamilton. Don't rush to get crushed.
Accidents hinder productivity, resulting in delays, loss of income, and broken homes. Save cash, don't crash.
Accidents are preventable. Make sure you arrive alive.
This message is brought to you by the Bermuda Road Safety Council.